So, the IELTS listening test. It's high stakes, high pressure, and you get exactly one shot. The question is, how do you nail it? Well, that's why we're here. In this explainer, we're going to break down the common traps and give you a simple three-phase strategy that will completely change how you approach this test.
All right, let's just jump right in. I mean, think about it. One recording, they play it just once, you've got 30 minutes to answer 40 questions. No hitting rewind, it's literally designed to be a pressure cooker, which is exactly why we need a solid game plan. So yeah, it's best to think of this thing less like a test and more like a gauntlet. It's a tough challenge for sure, but it's absolutely one you can conquer if you're prepared. So first things first, let's get a look at the battlefield.
So the whole thing is split into 4 parts. It starts off pretty chilled with a basic social conversation. Then you'll hear one person talking about an everyday topic. After that, things start to get a little tougher with an academic chat between a few people. And finally, you get a full-on academic lecture. And the big takeaway here, it just keeps getting harder as you go along.
Okay, so before we jump into our game plan, we got to do a little recon. See, the test isn't just hard, it's clever. It lays out these really predictable traps designed to make you lose points. So let's shine a light on them. Because you know what they say? Knowing is half the battle.
Man, this is probably the biggest and most frustrating one out there. You know how it is, right? You miss one little detail, maybe a street name or a phone number, and you start panicking, trying to remember it. But while you're doing that, the recording has moved on. And boom, now you've missed the next 2 questions. It's a total chain reaction.
Does that sound familiar? I bet it does. It happens to almost everyone. The absolute key is to just break that cycle. If you miss one, you have got to force yourself to let it go. Instantly. Just move on and refocus on the very next question to stop that snowball in its tracks.
All right, trap number 2. This one plays on that feeling of panic. You hear something that sounds like the answer, and you're so relieved you just lock it in right away. But the test designers know you'll do that, and often the speaker will then correct themselves or add a new piece of info that completely changes the answer.
This is such a classic example. You'll see it all the time. Imagine this. A speaker says, "Oh, I think our train leaves from platform 4, and you quickly write down 4. But then they say, "Oh, wait, hang on, my ticket says platform 7. See? If you jump the gun, you fell for it. The lesson is simple. Just wait. Let them finish their thought.
And finally, trap number 3, the reading race. I mean, they give you this tiny window of time before each section to read the questions. It's never enough, right? And it can make you feel like you're behind before you've even started.
Okay, so I know that sounds like a lot of bad news, but here's the good news. The really good news. These traps, they're predictable. And anything that's predictable can be beaten. So we're going to tackle this with a simple 3-phase strategy. What to do before, what to do during, and what to do after you listen.
All right, time to build our defense. And it all starts before a single word of the recording is even spoken. This is phase 1, the pre-listening prep. And honestly, it might be the most important part of the whole test.
Okay, so in that short, quiet time, you have 3 jobs. It's a mission. 1, read the questions so you know exactly what you're listening for. 2, underline or highlight the key words to focus your brain. And 3, try to predict the kind of answer you're looking for. Is it a number, a name, a place? Now, this next part is absolutely crucial. You have to start thinking in synonyms. Listen, the audio is almost never going to use the exact words from the question. That's the trick. So if the question uses the phrase active person, you need to be listening for descriptions like goes to the gym or plays tennis. You're hunting for the meaning, not just matching words.
Okay, phase 2. The audio starts playing. The clock is ticking. Game on. Now we're moving from prep to action. This is all about active listening, hunting for those answers you already know are coming.
Okay, here's a very specific but super important tip for anyone taking the computer-based test. The questions are often laid out in columns. To make sure you don't miss a thing, you've got to master what's called zigzag reading. Your eyes need to scan from left to right and back again, just following the flow of the questions as the audio plays.
Okay, next up, let's talk about your roadmap through the audio. These are called signpost words. Think of them as little verbal cues that tell you exactly where the speaker is heading. They'll tell you when they're starting a new point, changing the subject, or wrapping things up.
You know, words like first or in addition are your friends. They signal what's coming next. But a word like however, that's a giant red flag. It means a big change is coming, and that's often where the real answer is hiding. And when you hear to summarize, you better listen up because the main points are coming at you again.
And that brings us to the final phase, the home stretch. The recording is done. For the computer test, you get 2 whole minutes to review. Now listen, this is not time to chill out. This is where you can actually score more points. This time is critical.
2 minutes, 120 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, right? But used strategically, this time can be the difference between a good score and a great score. You cannot waste a single second of it.
So here's what you do, your final review checklist. First, check your word count. Does it say no more than 2 words? Well, don't write 3. Second, spelling. A simple typo means it's wrong, period. And finally, the big one. Go on a hunt for any empty spaces you left behind.
This right here is the absolute golden rule of the IELTS listening test. You do not lose points for wrong answers. A blank answer gets you a guaranteed 0 for that question. A guess? Well, a guess gives you a chance. So I'm going to say it again, never, ever leave a question blank.
So there you have it. That's the toolkit. Prepare before, listen like a detective during, and review like a hawk after. When you do this, the test stops being this big, scary monster. It becomes a predictable challenge, a challenge you are now totally equipped to meet head-on.
You've got the playbook now. All that's left is putting it into practice. So the real question isn't, can you do it? It's, are you ready to turn these traps into triumphs? Because with this strategy, you absolutely can.